Monday's explosive episode of CBS's The Bold and the Beautiful cranks tension to a white-knuckle pitch the moment Sheila Sharp's car pulls into the driveway of the cliffside beach house where Luna Nozawa has taken refuge. Sunglasses concealed her eyes as she stepped onto the deck, her heart pounding because she knows that approaching a gun-wielding, grief-stricken granddaughter is the kind of danger no training could prepare her for. Sheila's sole mission is to calm Luna long enough to defuse the situation, to remind the child she raised that pulling a trigger will destroy every scrap of healing they've both fought so hard to achieve. But from the instant Sheila's voice drifts through the open glass doors, Luna's tension ratchets higher, the adrenaline in her veins turning every syllable into a challenge. Still, Sheila tries the only tactic she knows. She speaks in measured tones about forgiveness and second chances, recalling the laughter of Luna's childhood, but Luna's grief explodes into accusations that Sheila abandoned her to the ruthlessness of Poppy Nozawa and robbed her of the mother she deserved. Sheila's attempt to soothe only fans Luna's fury, and as she edges closer, coaxing Luna to lower the gun, a new, more dangerous idea flashes across Sheila's mind. What if Luna could be persuaded to hand the weapon over to her, trusting that she truly intended to protect Steffy Forrester by taking the lethal responsibility herself? In a split second, Sheila sees an opening she pretends to align with Luna's desire to punish Steffy, adopting a posture of ruthless resolve, goading Luna to pass her the pistol so Sheila can finish what you started. Luna hesitates, confusion flickering across her face as she imagines handing over the instrument of her rage to the very grandmother she suspects of betrayal. The gun changes hands in the strangest moment of uneasy truce, and as Sheila's fingers close around the barrel, Luna lunges to snatch it back. A violent struggle erupts, metal clicks, bodies slam against the marble fireplace, sparks of gunpowder linger in the air. And in the frenzy of limbs and desperate shoves, the weapon discharges, the revolver's roar so loud it drowns out the pounding surf below. The bullet rips into Sheila's side as she throws herself in front of an advancing Steffy, and at almost the same instant Liam Spencer, having followed Taylor's panicked call, bursts through the patio doors to see his wife frozen in horror and his former mother-in-law ablaze with pain. Liam dives across the room, grabs Sheila's flailing body, and the pistol spins free, striking a gleaming coffee table before skittering across the floor. Amidst the fog of shock, a stray second bullet tears through the arm of an unassuming third figure, one of Luna's few remaining allies who'd accompanied her to the beach house, sending that person crashing into a chaise lounge in a spray of fabric and blood. Within moments, the police arrive, sirens screaming, but not before the house has echoed with 3 shots that leave 3 bodies crumpled on the opulent tile floor. By the time paramedics bundle Sheila, Liam, and the unnamed third victim into gurneys and race them to the trauma unit, the entire hospital is on high alert, mass casualty protocols triggered in the blink of an eye. Word spreads fast. 3 high-profile patients, all in critical condition, 2 operating rooms already occupied with emergency surgeries, a third or standing by for that final, uncertain battle with mortality. Monitors beep in harsh rhythms as surgeons scrub frantically, slicing through torn muscle and shattered bone to staunch arteries and clear clots. News leaks that only 2 of the 3 victims will be pulled back from death's door. The question on every worried relative's lips and every news ticker across Los Angeles is who will be the one to slip away, and how that loss will reconfigure the fragile alliances of power woven through Forrester Creations, Spencer Publications, and the wider social scene. Meanwhile, in the hushed corridors of intensive care, Finn Finnegan paces outside his mother's room, replaying the moment he sensed the collision of their worlds. Luna's gun aimed at Steffy, Sheila's body thrown like a shield, Liam's anguished cry as he scooped Sheila into his arms. Finn's phone has been buzzing with voicemail notifications, and at Taylor's urging, He finally checks one from Sheila recorded earlier that day, a coded warning. Don't trust what you hear, Finn. The danger's closer than you think. Steffy's not the target yet. His blood runs cold as he realizes his mother suspected a setup, that Luna might have been manipulated into lashing out under someone else's influence. But before he can decrypt every word, he's called into the conference room where Lee Finnegan awaits, her posture stiff, her expression stone-cold. Inside that small office off the hospital's central atrium, Lee delivers the kind of viewpoint that sends Finn reeling. She bluntly suggests that Luna Nozawa might be better off dead than forced to relive her traumas, that her uncontrolled obsession and volatility pose such a danger that removing her entirely would be a mercy for Luna herself and for everyone she could harm. The words hang between them like barbed wire. Finn's jaw tense as he recalls his own attempts to reach Luna with kindness and understanding. Lee refuses to let emotion cloud the calculus of safety. She pins the blame squarely on Poppy Nozawa for failing her daughter, acknowledges that Luna's darkest fears about her mother were all too true, and yet insists that any sympathy Finn extends is a reckless invitation for further violence. She shames him for the hospice-like compassion he's shown both Luna and Sheila, and warns that if Finn doesn't toughen up, he'll lose everyone he cares about to the chaos brewing outside these hospital walls. Finn bristles at Lee's cold pragmatism. He thought the woman who rebuilt her life alongside him could never believe such things, but underneath his anger lies a terror that Lee's ruthless logic might take root in his own mind, that he might one day consider the unthinkable. As Finn storms out of that meeting, Taylor intercepts him with the latest update. 2 of the 3 victims are stabilized, but Liam remains in critical condition, his prognosis uncertain until that 3rd surgery concludes. Taylor's voice cracks as she begs Finn to promise he'll stay grounded, that he won't let Lee's words push him down a darker path. But Finn barely hears her. His mind races back to the voicemail, to Sheila's hushed tremor of fear, and to the unspoken truth that he may already be too late to save not only Steffy, but the woman who bore him. Across the hospital, the boardroom of Spencer Publications hums with urgent meetings about Liam's fate. Bill Spencer demands a seat at the operating table, Wyatt Spencer pleads for any scrap of influence he can muster, and Will Spencer waits outside, clutching a handmade get-well-soon card and hoping against hope that his father will wake up. Over at Forrester Creations, Ridge and Brooke coordinate a media strategy to shield Sheila's name from scandal while quietly lobbying the district attorney to consider her heroism a mitigating factor should charges be filed. They know that revealing Sheila's earlier confession of secretly funding a school to atone for the madness that once led her to shoot her own son will only deepen the complexity of her case, and they gamble on public sympathy tipping the scales in her favor. Meanwhile, Luna Nozawa, detached and sedated in a psychiatric evaluation ward, remains unconscious on a hospital bed after being subdued and handcuffed by officers who found her collapsed beside the smoking gun. Her fractured psyche will be probed by psychiatrists who'll weigh her criminal responsibility against her mental state, even as lawmakers across Los Angeles cite this latest beach house massacre in calls for tougher gun control measures. Editorials will proclaim a scandal too convoluted for any single headline. A grandmother's sacrifice, a husband's near-fatal charge, a shadowy 3rd victim whose identity threatens to topple corporate empires, and a young woman so consumed by grief she traded her future for a moment's vengeance. Through it all, one question will loom larger than any: who among Sheila, Liam, and the unnamed 3rd party will not survive, and how will that loss redraw the map of power, love, and betrayal in this city of sun, sand, and broken dreams? As the week of July 7th to July 11th unfolds, viewers can expect not 1 but 2 more shooting victims to be revealed, each adding another twist to a saga defined by one bullet's ability to reshape destinies. And at the center of it all stands Finn Finnegan, torn between the blood oath he feels to protect every life he touches and the cold logic Lee has planted in his mind that sometimes, to save the many, the few must be sacrificed. The bold and the beautiful has never been so dangerous, and as the cameras roll on Monday's episode, no one will be safe, no allegiance untested, and no future certain in the face of such raw, unrelenting drama. Steffy's disappearance began in broad daylight when Luna Nozawa, her heart shattered and her mind fraying at the edges, cornered Dylan, the young art instructor newly hired at Forrester Creations' satellite atelier, just as the class was about to break for lunch. Luna blocked the classroom doorway with a tremor of barely contained fury, her eyes glinting with desperation, and insisted that Dylan personally escort Steffy Forrester Finnegan to the private studio on the shore where she claimed an urgent portrait commission awaited. Shocked but unnerved by Luna's intensity, Dylan complied, gathering his coat and keys as Luna forced him out the door. Steffy, trusting as always in the veneer of civility that cloaked even the most volatile of encounters, trailed behind them, offering Luna a gentle smile as though the granddaughter she'd once embraced might still be found beneath the tremor in Luna's voice. But Luna would brook no warmth. The moment they crossed the threshold of the art studio's glass walls, she snapped shut the lock and shoved Dylan aside, her hand clamping around Steffy's arm with such strength it left bruised red welts. Dylan reeled in shock as Luna pressed a spiraled black scarf into Steffy's hands, gagging her with no more ceremony than one might tie a ribbon around a gift, then bound her wrists with lengths of silk cord intended for easel coverings. Dylan's protests, faint, panicked, echoed uselessly against the painted canvases, and as he edged for the door, Luna produced a compact pistol, her slender fingers trembling on the grip, and trained it on Dylan's chest. "If you don't leave now," she hissed, "he dies. And she stays with me forever." Torn between loyalty to the woman who had mentored him and terror of what Luna might do, Dylan stumbled away into the afternoon sun, his footsteps fading down the walkway as the lock clicked again and Steffy's world narrowed to the sound of her own ragged breath and Luna's whispered apologies for only wanting answers. Back in Los Angeles, Taylor Hayes received Dylan's frantic call in the hallway outside her office at Forrester Creations. Detective Sanchez, veteran of countless high-profile searches, barked orders into his phone: secure the perimeter, send drones up to scan the cliffs, bring in negotiators. But every minute cost them ground. Luna had the only key to the studio and the only information on where she would hold Steffy. In a sudden move straight out of a hostage drama playbook, Taylor Hayes, long accustomed to the unorthodox battles waged in the Forrester family's name, slipped away from the perimeter. Riding shotgun in Ridge's car, she convinced the detective to let her lead a smaller team on foot down a hidden trail that hugged the bluff, hoping to reach the studio undetected. Ridge followed, muscles coiled with fear and fury, his thoughts a blur of fatherly terror and corporate embarrassment. Every step brought them closer to the locked door behind which Luna paced like a caged wolf. Inside, Steffy, gagged and bound, fought not just the ropes at her wrists, but the suffocating panic that threatened to consume her. She visualized Hayes in the arms of Finn across the ocean, the bright laughter of Hayes's morning, and drew on that memory to steady her breathing. She willed her mind to track the lock's mechanism as her fingers thrashed and felt the silk cord start to slacken against her bones. With one wrenching tug, she freed a hand and reached for her cell phone, hidden in the hem of her skirt. Luna whirled at the faint click of the sliding bolts and leveled the gun at Steffy's chest. Time slowed. Steffy held up her bruised hands, not as a challenge but as a plea, and spoke softly of redemption, of forgiveness, of the family that still loved Luna despite everything. Luna's finger twitched on the trigger. The gun wavered. But the moment dissolved in a cacophony of shouted police commands and the sound of breaking glass as Taylor's team crashed through a side window. Luna spun away, her eyes wild, and fired once, twice, into the air, bullets chipping plaster from the walls. Taylor dove behind a marble pedestal, returning fire with a warning shot of her own. Ridge grabbed Luna's arm as she pivoted for another shot, and in the scuffle, the pistol discharged, the bullet embedding in the hardwood floor between Taylor's feet and the threshold. Officers swarmed in, tasers crackling, and Luna collapsed to her knees in the chaos she had wrought. Taylor rushed to Steffy, tearing at the gag and rope as Ridge pounded Luna's arms behind her back to snap on cuffs. The drama ended in less than 90 seconds, but it would echo for weeks. In the aftermath, it was Steffy who made the most startling decision. Though unharmed beyond bruises and shock, she felt the tremors of fear that would never fully release her as long as Hayes remained in Los Angeles. She thought of the night screams, the reverberations of gunshots in the salt-cooled air, and the way Luna's grief had skewed into violence so swiftly it reminded her of how fragile peace really was. Calling Finn in New York, she spoke of her resolve to protect Hayes from the shadows that clung to her own life. Without consulting Ridge or Taylor, or even the police department that had just rescued her, Steffy booked a private jet, packed Hayes's favorite books and toys, and slipped out of the city before dawn. Her note to Ridge and Taylor was short and direct. She needed time away, in a place where Hayes could laugh at the ocean's gentler waves rather than tremble at its thunder. And then she disappeared into the sky. Steffy's voluntary departure sent seismic waves through the Forrester empire. Jacqueline MacInnes Wood, the actress behind Steffy, was already scheduled for maternity leave. The production schedule would have accommodated a brief absence, but Steffy's unplanned escape left scripts unfinished, other characters' storylines dangling on cliffhangers. The creative team scrambled to rewrite episodes, shifting focus to Ridge's grief, Taylor's search for answers, and a new design crisis at Forrester Creations. Reports circulated that Bill Spencer would swoop in to offer disaster relief funding, positioning Spencer Publications as the savior to Steffy's fashion house woes. Board meetings became battlefields. With Steffy gone, who would steward the Forrester name in her absence? Would Ridge recede into protective in C or stand firm as the family patriarch? Could Taylor maintain her precarious dual role as designer and crisis manager? And what if Poppy Nozawa, already facing legal scrutiny for Luna's actions, would she step forward to reclaim her daughter's narrative once Steffy's departure left fewer protective walls around Luna's crimes? In Hollywood circles, gossip columns gleefully spun Steffy's disappearance into high-stakes drama. Was she hiding from a stalker or from her own past? Social media influencers concocted fan theories that Steffy was en route to a secret child-friendly commune in Oregon, while others insisted she'd rendezvous with Finn in Italy for a clandestine reunion. But insiders spoke in hushed tones of the very real cracks in the Forrester-Spencer alliance. Without Steffy as the anchor, Liam Spencer's unreliable loyalties threatened to resurface. Wyatt Spencer sniffed opportunity to reclaim his role as patriarch-in-waiting, and Bill Spencer saw an opening to undermine Forrester Creations from within by offering financial advisement disguised as philanthropic support. Jacqueline's scheduled maternity leave became a focal point for speculation. Some argued she would delay her exit indefinitely to stabilize the ship, while others predicted an early return once scripts allowed her character to track Steffy's rescue. For the Forrester dynasty, the weeks of July 7th through July 11th would prove to be a crucible. With their most beloved heroine offstage and the ruthless press circling like sharks, Ridge and Taylor fortified their public statements, emphasizing unity and resilience. They announced a temporary design showcase themed Finding Strength in Absence, a pointed tribute to Steffy's sacrifice for her daughter's safety that doubled as a marketing gambit. The venue, a revitalized warehouse near the Hollywood Bowl, was decorated with half-finished gowns and childlike sketches in charcoal, symbolic of Steffy's own dual roles as mother and designer. Cameras rolled on every angle, live-streamed to millions, and the studio audience erupted in hashtags of #SteffySafety and #ForresterFamilyFirst. But beneath the polished veneer lay doubts. Without Steffi's creative genius, would the collection fall flat? Could Taylor's designs alone carry the weight of the Forrester legacy? And would the public see through this sudden pivot as opportunistic rather than heartfelt? Meanwhile, Steffi and Hayes found refuge at a secluded beachfront villa in Cabo San Lucas, miles from the chaos of LA. Finn arrived days later, his face lined with worry, but softened by relief at seeing his daughter's laughter return under the warm sun. In private conversations, Steffi revealed how the kidnapping had shattered her sense of home. She confessed that she could never feel safe in a city where someone she'd once embraced had turned a hallway into a death trap. Finn vowed to push for Luna's commitment to a long-term psychiatric facility rather than prison, to safeguard both ends of this tragedy. He and Steffi discussed the future of their family, entertaining ideas of relocation or at least a family compound far from the prying eyes of the tabloids. Hayes splashed in the surf, her giggles carrying across the sand, oblivious to the headline storms brewing back in Los Angeles. By the time Jacqueline McInnes would return to set, her maternity leave cut short by the spiraling storyline of her characters' kidnapping and flight, she stepped into a transformed world. Scripts now featured Steffi in flashbacks, her silhouette glimpsed in sunlit corridors of a hospital or aboard the private jet flying Hayes to safety. The tone of the show shifted from glamorous intrigue to raw, emotional survival as viewers tuned in not for the latest catwalk scandal, but to witness a family's struggle to protect its own. Ratings surged, social media buzz reached fever pitch, and CBS executives hailed the storyline as bold and unflinching, even as the cast and crew limped through sleepless nights and rewrites. In the grand tapestry of the bold and the beautiful, Steffi's disappearance marked a turning point. It revealed the fragility beneath the silk and chiffon, the lengths a mother would go to shield her child, and the fierce ironies that unite and fracture a dynasty in equal measure. As the Forrester-Spencer alliance reeled from the aftermath,